you're going to start off with 2 equal-sized balls of clay. These should be between the size of a baseball and a softball. These are going to be large face vessels, so you will need a decent amount of clay to do it. You want to wedge your clay before you do it. That is just pressing the clay forward, kind of like kneading dough. This combines the clay body, it combines any extra moisture, and it also takes out air bubbles. What you see me doing here is beating the clay so that it forms into a ball form. We are going to start this foundation by creating 2 equal-sized pinch pots. So that's why I am doing this step. So you can see me, I'm putting my thumb in the center and I'm squishing along the outside. When you do this part, the outer rim does need to have a little bit more clay than we would normally want. Not an insane amount of clay, but just a little bit thicker than normal. This will be because we are carving into this a little bit more and we want it to be more stable. So I have nearly finished one pinch pot. You can see that it still looks a little bit rough. That's because we're going to be smoothing it out after the entire face structure is complete. So another aspect of these face vessels that might be different, of these pinch pots that might be different, is that we want the base not to be flat, we want it to be curved up a little bit more, so it will more represent a head or a jaw of your face vessel. I have both of my pinch pots formed. I'm going to make sure that the rims of the pinch pots are about the same size in circumference, and that I don't have a lot of excess clay around the bottom edge. That's so that these will fit together perfectly and it will be more balanced than normal. So I am turning around my pinch pot and tapping it on the bottom, on the rim side, so that it has a flat surface when I'm going to be connecting them. So now I am going to slip and score. I'm going to score both sides of my pinch pot, and then I'm going to apply slip to one of those so that they will stick and combine and not fall apart. So now that I've slipped and scored, I'm ready to combine my pinch pots together. We are going to add a coil around the seam, so it does not to be perfectly attached at this point in time. We just want it secure. So you see me pushing out the walls of one of my pinch pots because it was a little bit too small and it caved in a little bit too much. And then they are connected now. So I'm going to be smoothing that out with my metal rib. You can also use your finger, you can use the wooden modeling tool. There are a lot of different options to smooth your 2 pinch pots together. So I mentioned before that we're going to make a coil to go around the seam. This is going to need to be a little bit thicker coil. I would imagine that it would be about the size of a quarter in circumference, and it will want to be longer. So you're going to need to use a decent chunk of clay. You can see here that mine is about the size of my palm. And I'm going to be making my coil. You always want it to measure a little bit longer than shorter because it's easier to cut off clay than it is to add more on. Now that I have a good length coil, I'm measuring it and I'm cutting it to the size that I need, making sure that the ends meet and that it fits around the entirety of my coil itself. It's about equally spaced all the way along. So now I'm ready to attach it. So I'm going to slip and score. So I'm scoring the coil, I'm scoring the vessel, and I'm applying slip to one of those to make sure that it's combined and it will be securely attached. So now that my coil is attached, I'm going to smooth out uh, the coil and attach it to my actual project. I'm going in first with my thumbs to smooth out the area, but you can also be using the other tools that I mentioned before, which is the metal rib. You can also use the wooden rib and the wooden modeling tools. Your goal now is to start shaping it so that it looks like a legitimate head. Right now it just looks like a sphere. So once that coil is combined, then you're going to start rolling, shaping your project um, so that it begins coming together. It begins looking a little bit more complete than it was before. As for smoothing out the sides, you can use a combination of slip to smooth out the sides. You can use a metal rib, you can use a wooden rib, you can use your sponge. This is where you will want to start to make sure that it is smooth, because if there's any extra cracks or wrinkles on there, the end product will not end up like you would like it to. The glaze might not be applied as well as you like it to. We want it to be a nice smooth surface to work on. We want a good foundation to start off this project with. Another thing I want to mention about this project is you need to make sure that it is wrapped up really, really, really well when you're done working on it for the day. And that's so that it doesn't dry out. For this project, your clay needs to stay in the workable stage, or else you will not be as successful as you could. So triple bag it, make sure there is absolutely no air getting into your project. Another thing that you can do is you can wet some paper towels and wrap your project in it before you close shop for the night. You could also just spray it down, get your project a little bit wet before, and this will all help you.